I don't know where to start. Should I start with inflation rising in the US? Or should I start with the fact that the EU energy chief says a catastrophe is imminent in the next few hours? Which would you prefer?
But the inflation story looked to me like it wasn't a problem. I mean, there was a little bit of that PPI thing coming through.
It doubled from January.
From like totally irrelevant to like mildly alarming.
And above consensus of 0.7%. And that includes energy and food.
But the excluding energy and food thing is like remaining totally subdued, right?
And it obviously suits you to exclude energy and food because then it just proves your theories.
I'm not interested in food and I'm not interested in energy. I'm only interested in the price of iPads coming down by half and important stuff like that.
Okay, I see. All right. I mean, the inflation scenario quite important. We've got the energy price scenarios also changing quite rapidly.
Yeah, oil
Saudi,
substantially
Bahrain.
higher.
Are you
Look,
worried?
I concede that's a concern, but you know, my big picture theory here is that inflation and interest rates are going to go back to normal in the course of 2011 and 2012. Yeah. And by normal, we know that for a healthy, thriving economy, you need a little bit of price inflation and you need normalized interest rates. So the challenge for the Fed, and that's what of course came out last night, was the Fed's comments, is to recognize that these threats are out there, do whatever needs to be done in each country in order to get everybody on sides.
Does that sound familiar though, Paul? Has that not been what they've been saying for some time now?
That's what they always say. That's what we've been saying for 3 decades. The question is, if you look at long-term inflation charts, that's come down. And so interest rates have come down from the 1970s. And you have periods where things appear to be relatively unhinged. But you must understand, from my perspective, it's against the backdrop of a generally well-managed situation. I mean, central bankers have got enormous credibility around the world. Look at Jill Marcus. Everybody loves her.
In South Africa, perhaps. I mean, let's take it back to Alan Greenspan.
Actually, don't get me started on that. People don't like, you know, Ben Bernanke, but everybody that I talk to in the serious corner of the asset management world think he's a legend.
And everyone loved Alan Greenspan when he had interest rates at record lows for an extended period of time.
And
then when we saw a blowout,
anymore.
Exactly. Oh yes, housing starts. How could I forget? That down 22.5% in February.
Okay, so the big picture with US
being
housing.
Up for 18% in January.
But clearly in that period from 02 to 05, they built far too many houses in America. And as you know, for a South African, this is incredible, but if you have a mortgage on a second property in the US, you can get a tax deduction for that. It's a tax deductible expense, mortgage payments, interest payments. So naturally, there's enormous interest in owning homes. So they built far too many, and we all know about the condos in Arizona that are standing empty. So you would expect, against that background, for housing starts to be depressed. What's the problem?
Okay, SABMiller. What's the problem? SABMiller, lots of rumors, Paul. Are you buying into any of them?
Well, you know, I don't know. I think at one level it's just the sort of garbage that comes through in the dealing environment. So there was a rumor out of London this morning, totally unsubstantiated, that there's some kind of buyer in the markets and that SABMiller is a target. But now we're talking about a company with, you know, a multi-billion-dollar market cap. So I don't think anything serious is going down unless somebody with a very big checkbook is in the mix, and I can't really think who that is. But remember, Altria, which is the group that used to own Miller, that sold Miller to SAB, has got like a 35% stake in SABMiller. So I think if anything's going on, it's probably someone who's talking. Are you buying into the story though, Paul? No, not really, and I don't think anybody else is either.
And you don't own SAB, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't. Look, it turns over about 300 million rands a day in our market, and today it was about 380 million rands with a turnover. Normally, if there's something going down, more people know about it and the trading volumes go up. So we'll wait and see.
Very quickly, South African markets up 1.4%, completely opposite of what we're seeing on a global level. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been leads and lags, but I think we'll have to see where the US market goes tonight, because they were anxious about Japan. Now they're not so anxious about that anymore. They're looking at their own data. So we'll have to see. I mean, that's
lots of digestion, I hear, Paul.
But you know, up days, I like up days. I'm quite comfortable with up days.